every time she speaks, it feels like she's like giving a TED talk or writing a Hallmark card or something. I mean, I just feel like people maybe keep waiting to see more of a flawed, organic, messy version that we all are. But honestly, watching her show, it feels like it's like AI generated and it's just not realistic. I don't know.
So what you're trying to say is you want her basic, just like you, so you'll feel better. So now the new standard for relatable is sounding less intelligent and more messy. Let me get this straight. A woman with poise, purpose, and polish. And that's your cue to call her inauthentic. You said your friend baked a princess cake. Someone compared her to Meghan. And her response was, I'm more of a Martha Stewart. Okay, let's break this down. You know Martha Stewart. The woman who literally curated a brand around perfection. Whose entire empire is built on aspiration, not relatability. A woman who built an aesthetic where every flower was placed with tweezers. And every scone had a monogram. That Martha? So let's not pretend this is about authenticity, because what you're really doing is cloaking a dig in faux feminist musings. You don't want Meghan to be authentic. You want her to be less articulate, less composed, less excellent, so you can stop feeling insecure every time she reminds you of how much more you could be. And this whole she sounds like a TED Talk or a Hallmark card argument, that's not a flaw. That's branding. That's control. That's a woman choosing her words carefully in a world that's constantly dissecting her existence. You think she's stiff? Maybe she's tired of being punished no matter what she does. You claim you wanted a flawed, messy version of her. But if she gave you that, you'd crucify her for being ungrateful, attention-seeking, or disrespecting the crown. And let's talk about what you really mean when you say you want Meghan to be less poised.
Hello guys, welcome back to our channel. Please subscribe. Here we celebrate Prince Harry and Meghan. Let's dive in, shall we? Notorious JTB body slammed the nonsense, served justice with syllables, and made that tired critique look like it came from a crumpled script in a bin behind a Daily Mail office. While others were busy fake pontificating over Meghan's tone, JTB dragged the argument into the light like Rafiki lifting Simba and said, "You don't want real, you want her broken." And let me tell you, that one line, that hit harder than 1,000 think pieces and shut down more nonsense than Twitter ever could on its own. Notorious JTB didn't just read the critic, he deleted them from the syllabus. Oh, we're just getting warmed up, so sit back, sip whatever tea you're holding, because this right here, this is going to be a full-blown, high-definition, surround sound dragging session of the nonsense criticism aimed at Meghan Sussex, a woman whose existence continues to make insecure people itch like glitter in their insecurities. Because let's really talk about it. When did excellence become offensive? When did articulation start sounding like an act? When did knowing how to speak your truth turn into, oh, she must be fake? What we're seeing is the deep discomfort of people who have never seen a black woman speak with grace and not ask for permission. See, the whole, she sounds like a TED Talk critique is so tired it needs a nap, a blanket, and a do not disturb sign. Meghan speaks in full sentences. She thinks before she talks. She connects her ideas. That's not AI, baby, that's education. That's global experience. That's media training, royal endurance, humanitarian gravitas, and personal trauma, all rolled into one voice that doesn't tremble for approval. You know why it rattles folks? Because it exposes them. It exposes how uncomfortable they are with a woman who doesn't stumble over her value. It exposes how rare it is for a black or biracial woman to speak with calm authority and not break into a grin to soften the blow for white fragility. You want to talk about Hallmark? Meghan Sussex wrote a children's book, The Bench, that became a New York Times bestseller. A book rooted in love, fatherhood, and the quiet beauty of family. Meanwhile, her critics can barely string together a coherent thread on Twitter without going off about avocado toast and eye contact. Meghan writes intentionally. She speaks with layered emotion. She's not Hallmark. She's high-quality cinema. She's narrative. She's lived experience wrapped in delivery so smooth you'd think it was silk-screened. Let's look at the receipts, shall we? This is a woman who gave a keynote speech at the United Nations on gender equality before she ever stepped foot in the royal family. She's advocated for menstrual health in India. She's funded women's shelter programs through her cookbook with Grenfell survivors. And let's not forget, when the royal family turned their backs, Meghan turned toward service. Her and Prince Harry's Archwell Foundation has supported vaccine equity, mental health platforms, technology for underserved communities, and women-led organizations globally. But yeah, go off about how she sounds too perfect. That TED Talk tone y'all hate? That's the same tone she used to discuss racial inequality on a global stage. That's the same tone she used to narrate Elephant for Disney+. That's the same tone she used in interviews to tell her truth without bitterness. Because Meghan doesn't need to raise her voice to raise the vibration of the room. And you're bothered, deeply. You want her to yell. You want her to crack. You want her to fall apart so you can say, see, she's just like the rest. But when she doesn't, when she breathes, pauses, and speaks from a place of truth, you call it artificial? No, darling. That's called discipline. That's called survival. That's called a woman who knows her words have weight and uses them wisely. Let's talk about authenticity, since that seems to be the word of the week on Hater Talk. Everyone's out here asking for the real Meghan. But when she laughs, she's fake. When she cries, she's manipulative. When she's poised, she's robotic. So what's the version that would make you comfortable? Oh, I know. The broken one. The one who apologizes for every breath. The one who shuffles into interviews looking unsure. The one who doesn't speak until someone else tells her it's okay to exist, but Meghan doesn't do that, and that's why they're big mad. Let me be clear. Meghan's tone is a threat to mediocrity. Her calmness is a revolution in a space that expects black and brown women to either shrink or explode. When Meghan speaks, she cuts through the noise of royal puppetry, TikTok commentary, and Fox News punditry with something they can't manufacture. Truth, delivered with care, delivered with warmth, delivered with power. So, let's get even more specific. When Meghan sits down for a conversation, she's not just talking for show. She's telling you exactly who she is. She's the same woman who cold-called senators to advocate for paid family leave. The same woman who gave birth, then got dragged for holding her child like a mother. The same woman who kept receipts of her abuse and still managed to look straight into the camera during that Oprah interview and speak with more composure than most of her critics have ever had at a wedding toast. You know what's truly robotic? The performance of the royals reading from note cards like they're learning to speak for the first time. Meghan walks into a room, into an interview, into a podcast, and actually connects. She listens, she responds, she thinks, she reflects. But somehow that's too much? Since when did intelligence become unsettling? Oh, right. When it came from her. You want to talk AI? Let's talk about how artificial it is that Meghan gets critiqued for using big words while other royals get praised for simply showing up. Meghan could deliver a speech that echoes Maya Angelou, Toni Morrison, and Audre Lorde, and some random TikToker with a ring light and way too much time would still call her too rehearsed. Let me say this loud for the people in the back. Meghan Sussex doesn't owe anyone a breakdown to prove she's real. She doesn't have to sound like your cousin at brunch to earn credibility. She doesn't need to unravel for your entertainment. She is real, but she is not yours. And shout out again to Notorious JTB for seeing it crystal clear. He clocked it with surgical precision. They don't want authenticity. They want fragility. They don't want Meghan to rise. They want her to grovel. But instead, she's launching products. She's backing local artisans. She's creating a media empire with a podcast that hit #1 across platforms. She's building a future for her children that doesn't depend on centuries-old castles and dusty old titles. She's doing it her way. And yes, she's doing it with polish. Because greatness, my friends, doesn't have to shout. It simply shines. So while the haters fumble over their stitched-together critiques, Meghan Sussex is threading legacy into every word she speaks. She's choosing diction that uplifts. She's setting the standard, not chasing approval. And if that makes people uncomfortable, good. Because too often, society asks black women to dim their shine for the comfort of those who can't take the glare. Not Meghan. She will speak with elegance, clarity, and calm. And you will either elevate your listening skills or stay pressed in your corner of the internet, chewing on your own bitterness. So let this be the final note in this TED Talk of truth. Meghan Sussex sounds the way she does because she's earned every syllable. Because her words carry history, hurt, healing, and hope. Because she refuses to be a mess just so you can feel better about yours. Meghan Sussex is not a malfunctioning machine. She is a refined force. A woman who stood against monarchy, media, and misogynoir, and still speaks like she's narrating a chapter from her next best-selling memoir. And if that's too polished, then maybe, just maybe, you should stop asking her to dull her brilliance and start asking yourselves why it threatens you so much.